Welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on KCBQ 1170 The Answer. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with Whissel Realty, joined as always by Mr. Jason Hall with Team Home Loans, Brian Kochi, Marketing and Media Manager at Whissel Realty, and our local Greek expert, private money lender, Louis Stathakis with Louis Loans. Louis, what in the world is going on in Greece right now?
You know, it's kind of complicated, and it's who knows what's going to happen. They've been in the news for so long, and I don't know if they're going to get back to their own currency or what exactly the turnout's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. I think that's the chaotic. That's why the market's been so volatile. I mean, see the stock market go up 300 points, go down 300 points.
Right.
You know, you're seeing all these radical changes because no one really knows what the heck's going to happen, and they really don't know.
No, and it's fun. It's interesting because it's such a small country, and it sends waves through the world as far as news and markets and.
When you look at a map, Greece is almost right in the center of that map, so it's just resonating out of there. But I mean, it's
the hub.
Yeah,
it's the
hub.
Entire world. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Greece is. I mean, honestly, if you look at
everything
the map, it's pretty close.
Everything
to the middle,
started right in that area, right?
Right.
I mean, that's where everything starts, depending on your beliefs and where you look at. I mean, a lot of stuff happened right there.
Right. So I'm seeing all kinds of stuff, in the news that your people are being limited to how much money they can pull out. I think the last one I saw,
yeah.
120 euros is the max that they can pull out of their bank.
The bank's
at a
closed.
Time. Right. The banks have been
closed.
Like
they closed on Monday. They opened up the weekend closed.
That's
all
crazy.
week. All week, and they have some big vote on Sunday that all the Greek people get the chance to vote on what they want to do. There's a yes or no vote. Do you know what that's all about?
I don't know, but my opinion is I think they should. I think that whole euro thing was a bad situation. I think they should all have their independent currency and not be connected to, because they get drowned out. Their problems are not surfaced and they can linger for a long time. But when they get their own currency, if they go that route, I think it'll be better because then they could start to rebuild.
Right. No, I get you there. But, good or bad, it has helped our rates earlier this year with all the worry, and it really drove rates down in the 3s, and now the rates are back up in the 4s because a lot of people think the problem can be fixed and done, but we're still seeing a lot of volatility in the stock market and the bond market, which is impacting mortgage rates.
So let's talk about that. So we've got two lenders here, very different lenders. Louis, you are a private money lender. Jason, you are a traditional money lender. So let's help the listeners understand how this has affected both of you and then what the differences are between what each of you guys do.
Go ahead, Louis.
So the difference between a traditional lender and a private money lender, you want a traditional loan. I mean, that's your first...
Long-term.
Right.
That's more of a long-term, right? Like a long-term solution, if you can document your income, you got good credit, you can get everything done. Long-term, we all want to be in the lowest interest rate, which typically you're going to get from a traditional lender.
Exactly. So that's a good way to put it. Private money is more of a temporary solution. It's a temporary, it's a temporary loan.
So temporary, how long is temporary? 3 years? 3 months? What's temporary?
Typically less than a year, probably,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, the loans I do are for 2 years. So, and a lot of people are in and out in 5 or 6 months.
Okay, cool.
And you're seeing people come to you in multiple situations. You see flippers who, hey, it's just simpler and easier to pay you a little bit of points, get the deal done. I don't have to, provide all this documentation to a traditional lender like myself. To,
right.
People who... Hey, we're in a family situation. We want to buy out grandma. No one has the income or credit to get it done. And, we just need something for a year or two till we can decide what we're going to do.
Yeah. It's predominantly guys who are buying and selling. They just want to get in and get out, close quickly, and they get a good price on the house for a quick close. Alternatively, when you're in process to get a traditional loan, a lot of times it falls out at the last minute because it's
we're talking about that.
It's just... So then they have to, if they really want the house, they have to scramble in a short period of time to get an alternative, and then they come and they get a private money loan, and then they clean up their financials a little bit, and then come back to
right, back to traditional lender, whatever it was that maybe caused it to fall out of escrow or get canceled from a traditional loan. Right, maybe their income, they had too much write-offs.
Right.
Maybe there was a rent survey that didn't come in as high. We had something like that yesterday.
Anything, yeah.
Something that kicks it back out. So then you're down to 2 weeks. So what's your fastest close? Like, And here's what you as listeners need to really understand. One of the big advantages to working with a private investor and somebody like Louis at Louis Loans is, what's your quickest close so far in your career as a private investor? How fast were you able to fund a loan once a client called you?
I don't know. I think for Kyle, we did it in 2 days, 48 hours.
We've done like a 2-day.
Yeah. So see, that's huge.
And what about you, Jason? What's
you know,
your quickest?
traditional? The quickest we probably right now, it's about 14 days.
Wow.
Right, and that's actually really
2 days versus 2 weeks.
Right, and
Wow.
2 weeks is
And
like, that's
2 weeks
super
is
quick. Yeah, it's just super
miracle.
quick. Yeah, I mean, everything has to be lined up. You have to have the right team and stuff doing that. We just did a VA loan in 20 days this last week, so it does happen. But 2 days, I think, to the listener that's going, wow, I had a situation like that before. I mean, I could have contacted somebody like Louis at Louis Loans and got this deal done in 2 days. Wow. And I know Kyle smiled when that happened. He must have been in need.
We needed that to actually buy the property for the pig rescue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Louis came through for me at the last minute
Nice job.
and pulled the funds together so that we could buy a property for our nonprofit pig rescue, Penelope's Purpose.
And that's where like the down payment or something
For
came.
the down payment,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So, Louis, if someone needs that quickly, how do they get a hold of you tonight?
They could call me, send me an email.
Go ahead and give us your phone number
for you.
Phone number is 619-252-7588.
All right, again, that's 619-252-7588. If you want to get a hold of Louis, find out more about private money loans and if it's the right fit for you. Again, it can be great for somebody who runs into some hardship and needs something last minute to pull a deal together. It could be great for an investor. A really good option. Again, 619-252-7588. You're listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on KCBQ. We're talking Louis Stathakis, private money lender, Jason Hall, Team Home Loans, traditional money lender. So, Jason, what's the difference for your firm versus Louis?
You know, our firm is, of course, a larger firm. We have different investment pools and different stuff on that. We're a branch of Synergy One Lending, and we have all the corporate guidelines that we have to follow, all the Fannie Mae guidelines, Freddie Mac guidelines. So there's a lot more paperwork on a traditional loan. I think we'd all agree with that. But in the benefit is you get that lower rate. And I know that's what Brian was asking is, hey, what's temporary, what's short term? And again, your loans are typically less than 2 years. It's a great fit, helps people in there. And we're looking for people's permanent financing that they're going to probably keep 3 years to 30 years.
Yeah.
Doing this for over 20-something years. I don't think I've had one client keep their loan 30 years. We have been in a decelerating interest rate environment for the last 30 years. Most people do predict that's going to turn around at some point here, and maybe it already has started, and time will tell. And maybe people will keep their 3.25% rate 30 years. We will see. But most people, 5 to 10 years is pretty much the payoff time on the life of a loan. So we're looking at, we have to look at your credit. We have to look at your income. The government requires us now as lenders to be 100% certain you can afford to make the payment. And if there's any doubt, we as the lender could be held liable. And so lenders nowadays have just following a whole different guideline. As a private investor, you handle all investment property stuff, and you guys don't have the same type of government guidelines that you have to follow. So that gives you the reason you can close in 2 days. The government requires us, the fastest anybody can close is 8 days because of all the disclosures that the government has. Now, effective in August, and they're talking about holding it back, but with the new trade guidelines, it's now going to even delay a few more days. The government is requiring us to put a loan estimate. And then the big one is they're requiring a closing disclosure 3 days before you sign your loan docs. So now you as a consumer, probably at your next loan you'll be doing here shortly, you'll have to look at a document, review it. Even if you sign it, you have to be given 3 days to kind of make sure that this is the loan you really, really want. And this is the very end. Then you sign your loan docs. Then we're able to fund your loan. So that's going to delay probably at least 3 days.
So, Jason, how do you feel on that? I kind of look at it as a consumer kind of two different ways. One, I like that it doesn't – it kind of prevents some other lending companies. I know I'm working with you right now, but from kind of forcing things on people. On the other hand, I'm sure it's a bit more heavy-handed than necessarily needs to be. What's your kind of thought on it?
That's a great question, Brian. You know, my thought is I don't like too much government involvement in oversight. And, as a right-wing Christian conservative, and, that's who I am, I'd rather less government stuff. But at the same time, there is a need. And the government is there for multiple different reasons. And there is a need that the government had to do something better than what's out there. And so I think it's going to be good and bad.
Jason for mayor.
Yeah, Jason for mayor. There you go. And but my one concern is because of all the more paperwork that has to be done, that all ends up in an interest rate, and that's all a bank really sells is mortgages. And so ultimately, the consumers end up paying a little bit more because of all the government stuff that we have to do. But I do think there is some good things that we're seeing with the new forms.
I love it. So, Jason, you mentioned things that are important to a traditional money lender like you, being credit score, income, tax return, stuff like that. So, Louis, how important is that kind of stuff for you on the private money side?
It's the same. It's lending principles are lending principles. So, but I think the difference is we're more. It's just not as strict. Not as strict. It's all the same principles. It's just we're more lenient.
And lenient me where you guys look at where it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if someone's got 30% down, we kind of get that they have skin in the game and they're probably not going to default on the loan. Whereas a conventional loan that you do, they're still dotting the I's, crossing the T's, looking at all the little details, under a microscope. Still, even with a large down payment.
Right. Yeah, regardless of down payment, whether you put 99% down or you go 0% down, we are required to scrutinize and look at every document. Again, the government requires us to be 100% certain, as best as our ability, to make sure the client can afford that payment. So that's some of the big difference.
Yeah, and all the hoops you have to jump through. That's you don't have to jump through a lot of hoops for a private money loan.
Right. I can definitely attest to that because I've done loans with both of you guys. And I know that when I do a loan with Louis, the amount of paperwork pales in comparison to having to do a traditional loan. I mean, with the traditional loan, it's like, Kyle. And the more property you own, the more complicated it gets. It's like, well, we want a letter of exclamation for every deposit in your bank over X amount of dollars. And when you own multiple rental properties, you're flipping properties, you own a brokerage, there's a lot of money coming in and out on a regular basis. So having to explain every line item on a bank statement, it can be intense. But at the end of the day, you're rewarded for that with a better rate.
All right. So what you look at as a consumer, Kyle, if it's a long-term loan, you're typically going to roll up your sleeves and probably try to go the traditional route.
Right.
And if it's hey, I'm probably going to buy this property because it's a great deal, I can do some work to it, make some changes here, and I think I can resell it in a short amount of time, that's where you're going to go to somebody like a private investor and Louis at Louis Loans, right?
Absolutely. We're going to head to a break, and when we get back, I'm going to talk about a property I personally purchased here in the last month through Louis and how using a private money loan helped score me an amazing deal on that property. So you're listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on KCBQ 1170 The Answer. We'll be right back.